just came in, landed in the harbor in San Francisco area, and then took a train home. And nobody was there to meet me. Then I walked home. I didn't have anybody until the honor flight.
World War II. World War II was the defining event of the 20th century.
Before the war, I was on a battleship, and she was sunk in Pearl Harbor. Yeah, the Oklahoma, she capsized. We lost 429 men aboard.
By the end of World War II, a 3.5-year period, 16.1 million men and women served our country.
I had a lot of buddies that went to Italy. Lost a dear friend on the beach down there in Italy. Yeah. I have a hard time with that. I don't talk about it because it brings back those long-lost friends that will never get to do an honor flight.
During this time, soldiers who now reside in Oregon's southern Willamette Valley region played a wide range of roles during the war. Paul Bozier ran communications on the beach invasion of Normandy.
And our job was to go in on the beach, and the officer would be in control of the beach, controlling what went off and what came on the beach.
We had a 6 two-man sub attack, and we had just right at Reveille, one of the subs fired a torpedo at a tanker, which was just about 1,000 yards from us. They put us in tanker row with them.
Joe Myers helped run communication systems in North Africa.
I was in the Army Air Force. I was a radio technician. Most of my job was just keeping things polished up and changing vacuum tubes to keep the radios working.
Paul Klenke coordinated documents throughout Germany after their surrender.
It wasn't long. They took me out of there and transferred me to what they call FIAT, a Field Information Agency Technical. They were a bunch of microfilming groups that went around the country, microfilming all different documents.
Ann Malarcy served on U.S. soil, working to dispatch troops to their proper stations all over the globe.
I was at a POE in San Francisco Bay on Angel Island, Fort McDowell. We shipped troops to the Pacific, and then the returnees, particularly the wounded, to their closest to their home states.
Japan surrendered on August 15th, 1945, and World War II was over. It wasn't until this century that a proper war memorial was built and dedicated to World War II veterans. The World War II Memorial was dedicated to all Americans who served during the war and the civilians in this country who united to support the war effort. South Willamette Valley Honor Flight was established in March 2012 and covers Lane, Lynn, Lincoln, and Benton counties in Oregon. Through the generosity and support of individuals and businesses, South Willamette Valley Honor Flight has transported 254 World War II veterans to receive their recognition at the World War II Memorial. As the first morning light breaks through the sky, it's time to board and begin the trek east. As the veterans and guardians disembark after a long flight, they breathe a sigh of relief to have arrived safely. They are excited, but none of them have any idea the impact of what's to come just a few feet up ahead, or how it will instantly change their lives.
As we walk up the gangplank off the plane, you can hear people applauding. And my father-in-law was quite taken aback by that you have people in uniform standing in full salute, in their dress uniforms, and all these kids that were applauding them and saying, thank you for your service, thank you.
That was something, soldiers and police officers, young college people, senior citizens, all standing kind of at attention and clapping their hands.
And crowds that met us and did the clapping, and the thank yous.
Well, that was very surprising. It about the biggest crowd ever seen. That would.
It was fantastic, really, and I was so happy to see that each state and each territory was represented with the columns and the big wreaths and the eagles and the portals, particularly since I was on the Pacific side, but also the Atlantic side too, because that was devastating also.
There's 4,048 stars on that wall, each one representing 100 Americans that were either killed in action or still listed to this day missing in action from World War II. But if you concentrate on what each one of those stars mean on that huge wall of stars, it's heartbreaking to think of that many families and stuff that were impacted.
But this is a memorial built of granite and bronze that will stand long before, after you are gone, after we are gone, as a living tribute to the sacrifice that you and your generation made to this country. For that, we thank you for your service. We have a presentation we're going to make to each of you right now. We have a flag that's been flown over the United States Capitol that'll be presented to you by each of your guardians. Halt!
I defy anybody, especially on their first visit to D.C. and witnessing the changing of the guard and watching a wreath laying when the taps are played. How you can't get a lump in your throat and tears in your eyes would be beyond me.
The changing of the guard at Arlington. Well done.
This is it, the final leg of the honor flight. In just a few hours, the group will land back in Portland, just 58 hours after they took off. But what most people on the flight don't know is there is a huge reception waiting for them on the ground, and the swell of emotions it will bring.
Portland arrival gets to me every time.
We have military personnel, fire personnel, police personnel, state police, sheriffs, local, all in dress uniforms, white gloves, the whole bit, forming an honor guard saluting them.
Those men are standing tall when they come off that plane. There's no more hunched over men. One of my favorite things to do is to grab them and say, "This is for you. This is for you."
That's the biggest reception I've ever seen. Most people, and they all are clapping and.
He couldn't believe the welcome that he got coming back home. And he said that was something that they didn't get in 70 years ago when they returned from the war. And I think the welcome that they received in Portland, I think that more than made up for that lack of welcome that he didn't receive when he came back home from the war.
And I came up, saluted him as I went by. And then I got to all the people that had their hands out, shake hands and so shook hands with more damn people than I ever have in my life.
I just couldn't evaluate that in my mind at the time.
This was their honor flight. This was their chance to be remembered, to be thanked, to see the impact of their service and sacrifice so many years ago. This was their time to shine, and the insights they gathered on the trip can never be forgotten.
It is a complete honor to take a few moments out of my life, a few pennies out of my checking account, to make sure that they know how appreciated they are, how honored I am to be able to spend a weekend with them. I don't let a veteran pass me without thanking them now. It could be their last thank you. It could be their only thank you. It's important. And we're losing them fast.